And that was actually one of very, a production strategy or techniques that led to what's this called now? Delegation, like different part of the company was producing different things at the same time. So it wasn't like before, producing one part at a time, but then Ford was able to, hack that model and producing different. So at the point, I think it was producing thousands of parts daily. Same thing with FMCGs, fast-moving consumer goods. I mean, products were being churned out, we're just extracting them. People were discovering all sort of resources. Science was becoming the main thing, technology across Europe, America, Africa, then Nigeria discovered oil. We're just exploiting our environment, exploring everything. Just taking, we kept on taking and taking, and like I said, we kept taking, we're making the consumers buy and use them, end up, just discard whatever it is, from plastic bottles to our mobile phones, to our computers. I mean, an interesting thing back in the day, I don't know if they still exist. There used to be this set of Malams, Northerners, then this set of women, they are usually Yoruba. I mean, at least I grew up in Southwest. So what they do is, for the women, they come with all sort of plastic products and they come to collect your old clothing. That's what they do. We call them, for those who understand Yoruba, paro. That's like trade, that's like barter, trade by barter. So you bring all of your old wardrobe, then in exchange, they wait in exchange for some sort of gold, plastic, containers and all that, and that was a way of keeping these materials in the system. And that's the whole essence of circular economy. I mean, these are some of practices that we should have scaled to date and we wouldn't have as much as greenhouse gas emission like we have today. So largely we're just taking without being conscious, without being sensitive. It was so fun. I mean, it was this oil boom that actually, one of the things, and this is a personal opinion, aside the fact that we have terrible leadership, corrupt and not even, I mean, let's not talk about them. But most importantly, oil boom came in Nigeria and agriculture was abandoned, every other thing abandoned. And I mean, look at Niger Delta today, petroleum land, the oil spill. I mean, research has it that for the next 30 years, even if they kept on cleaning and taking away the oil, 30 years, they'll still be doing that. I think Chevron or Shell, one of them. So, I mean, that's an entire community, habitat destroyed, ecosystem, not just disrupted, completely destroyed. There are some species that you probably will never find in that environment again. Some plants never, because the oil chemical already, and some of those soils may never be able to germinate anything. People have drank terrible water, but that's just like a summary. So that was how far we started. We're just taking and taking and taking. So now we need to mitigate the effects, the huge amount of effects that has caused us. And I also remember I mentioned that interestingly, Africa contributes the least to greenhouse emission, but we suffer the most. We don't have enough systems and structures to place infrastructure, capacity, technology, to turn things around. I mean, we are really hoping that in the next decade, Africa will truly be that frontier that the world will look up to. Because now everybody's turning back to Africa. China has been exploiting us heavily, Nigeria, across Africa, taking all of our important resources for making, electric products and all that, from lithium to everything. China has been taking, Elon Musk himself has been taking, but the rumor has it that, I mean, maybe it's not a rumor. I mean, I once heard that one of the reasons Boko Haram, that terrorist unit is still surviving is because they are being fed by some of these foreign countries. They are being fed. Mayowa. Mayowa, can you hear me? Hello, Mayowa, can you hear me? Anybody? Am I still audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, please, Mayo, I mean, it's interestingly what we are talking about now. I mean, so my office here, there's a big gen downstairs. Just switched on the big gen, and I'm inhaling the smoke coming from it. It's actually very, 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 very strong. So please, I need like 2 minutes to move to another office. I can't keep it for 1 hour. I probably won't.
Oh, okay.
We are live till then, so please let me change location.
Oh, please.
Yes, it's so heavy and it's really bad. And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, people. Just hold on. You can just stay standing for now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shokwe. So yeah, so thank you everyone. Does anyone have, I'm assuming some of us that have our hands raised have a comment or something with respect to today's class or to the current course. So let me see. Yes, the network has been a thing, so let's just hope that it's fixed before the end of the class. And that is, one of the nuances and the things that you actually must also factor in. So if you are not going to be available on Monday, which you actually shouldn't, right? So you should, try. We encourage you to be in the both classes. You can reinforce your knowledge, based, and so also that the information shared on Monday, for some reasons you might not be able to reproduce exactly that kind of information. So those that were in class on Monday, might have gained quite a few, and of course you being on the call, you would definitely be hearing something fresh. So let me allow Ugo Modesta to speak. Perhaps there's a question or comment in somewhere. We have 1 minute for this. Ugo, you can unmute your mic. Okay, if Ugo is not able to speak, Emmanuel, Ronald, please unmute your mic and speak. Emmanuel, Ronald?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good. To us is a good afternoon. In Kenya, it's now.
Oh, it's afternoon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're from Kenya. Okay, it's nice to have you join the call.
Okay.
Nice to have you join the call. Yes. What do you have a question or a comment?
No,
or from your experience?
I was just trying to comment on the experience. It's been an educative session, and it's really opened our minds and open our about climate change and the effects and about carbon. Because most of the times we talk about climate change and we only talk about climate change, and we've never talked about the carbon emissions. And I'm glad some things that have really come up in my portfolio that I've added a lot of stuff from you guys. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Emmanuel, for that kind feedback. We hope that this feeling is shared across board. Is Ugo still on the call? I think Shokwe has been able to join, so I don't know if he can. Okay, so while we wait for Shokwe, so PC, please rename your Zoom so that we can identify you as a real person. So while we wait for PC to continue with to ask this question or comment, let me take Umar Sanu Yakubu. Please, you can unmute your mic. Uma, you have less than 1 minute to speak.
All right. Thank you, sir. It's with regard to the issue of being present on the call on Monday and on Thursday. Some of us don't have the privilege because we specifically create time as we are being told that our cohort might be on Monday or on Thursday. So I think the facilitators need to honestly be informed that definitely a particular day is for a particular cohort and then the other day is for a particular cohort, because just like the facilitator today was trying to mention that there are uncovered slides in the previous class that he is just going to summarize and then get going. So it might take us, we might be left out. So they should be informed about our stand, please. That's what I want to comment on. And then the class has been very educative and informing. It has opened our eyes to so many things, especially us from the arts classes, that we don't know more about the climate change. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that kind feedback again. So Shokwe, I think you can carry on with the class. So one of the comments made was that so we had said that Monday's class is going to be for a particular cohort, then today's class for another cohort. So one of the things you observe is that we are still on module 1, so the assumption is still very valid. We are starting from the beginning, and the facilitator will just run through the slides. But most importantly, I want you to be very keen on what he's saying, the experiences. We don't just, this slide has made available to us on the group, but please take, your time to listen to the experiences and the perspective of the facilitator. You cannot trade that for anything. And let us ask our questions and interact, based on today's class. Thank you.
All right.
So Shokwe, please, you can carry on. Thank you.
There's an interesting question here. Good morning, Mr. Shokwe. My question is in respect to the forthcoming COP28. It's quite an interesting question. So, I believe that it's coming up with sustainable measures to curb the effect of climate change. What is your take on the president being a oil and gas type championing? Okay, I mean, this same question we are asking, we have also been, if you notice, Coca-Cola has also been trying to do a lot. Coca-Cola is pumping in money. If you have very nice initiatives, I mean, a lot of my friends here in Nigeria, at least 6, 7 of them, we still had an event yesterday. It's one of them, Recycle Edge. A lot of them in the plastic recycling space. Coca-Cola is funding them massively. That was also a fight. Well, for me, initially too, I kicked against it. I wasn't happy. I didn't like the fact that why will a oil company be boosting costs? I mean, isn't that, taking us for granted or trying to bribe? And at the point, some people were going to buy, what's that word now? What's now? Yeah, I mean, they were going to like not sure, not support it. So, but eventually, I mean, it's still going to happen with this oil producing nation. And so, what I sincerely think is this. Like I usually say, they started producing oil. I mean, before we started making noise about sustainable development, or started speaking against the dangers to our environment, to our, to communities, to our lives, to life, ecosystems. So what I'm thinking is this. I mean, what I would have expected the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, to have done would be that, I mean, ask this oil-producing nation, what are your plans for the next, say 2030, 2050 to come? I mean, it has to be tangible, not just theories. So I'm saying this because as far back as 5 years ago or so, or 6 years ago, Saudi Arabia came out boldly to say that by 2030, 2040, that they will shut down their oil wells. But then, I mean, we have to be, I don't want to say diplomatic now, we have to be very strategic. Now, if you understand China and America, China is the second largest economy in the world. I think about $16 trillion. US is about $24 trillion. Now, what has led to that huge success for China and US? I mean, still it's linear economy, taking from the environment. I mean, also exploiting the environment, destroying it, and make capitalism actually for US, China as well. That's like the manufacturing capital of the world. So my point is that the economies were already built on this linear, what we call linear economy. It's been built on it already. So we can't just say, oh, I mean, because one of them is hosting it. I think we should also be, as much as possible, flexible. We need to be flexible. They are major stakeholders. Yeah, in fact, they are still some of the largest. They have money. Some of the funding we are looking for. These guys, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, I mean, these cities and countries have it. I mean, to fund climate change initiatives and drives. So I think it's okay to be flexible. Initially, like I said, I kicked against it. However, they need to come out clearly.
True,
and
questions in
set
the chat room or questions.
there's a background, I think, from, I don't know who's in that's coming from. So, basically, it's like I said, it's an interesting question. Coca-Cola was fought as well. Coca-Cola was actually one of the sponsors of COP27. Interestingly, a major sponsor. So, but I think genuinely, Coca-Cola is beginning to rethink, its model. But it has to be gradual. It can't just automatically. I mean, we still don't have enough innovation. Or let me say tangible, reliable, sustainable, renewable energy, especially to power these massive plants. It will cost a lot, several billions of dollars. To change, say, take Coca-Cola for instance. Now, to change their manufacturing plants and from the traditional one to renewable energy, it costs a lot of money. A whole lot. So it has to be a gradual process. So I think let's allow them. Let's give them. Let's bring them to the table as well, because they've dragged us to where we are. So what I think they should do, the UNFCCC should do is, build them some more. So we just need, like we emphasized last week, enabling policies. There are policies that would initiate and place on these countries, these oil producing nations. With time, they won't have a choice than to move. So, but I'm glad that Saudi and I can't remember the other country, especially Saudi, they want to shut down their oil well. But because they have a lot of money, actually, this country, if you are a football follower, the rates, the amount of money Saudi is buying players now from Liverpool, from across the world, it's nothing like any club has ever done. So they truly have immense wealth. So we need that money. However, regulation is what we need. So let's allow them. Let's sit with them on the table of brotherhood and discuss the way forward. We can't kick them out. We can't even do it without them. That's the truth. Because climate financing is very, very critical right now. And they are still major stakeholders. We need their buying. So then they need to start planning their exit. Thank you. Because of time, I hope that answers your question. You can also share your perspectives, every other person in the chat. Let's make it interesting. Can you hear me? Somebody is saying, can hear you. Can you hear me? Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are very audible. No,
okay. People are saying my network. Okay. So it's already recorded. So that was Roderick Favor Dausa. So let's drop some comments. Your perspective. Somebody's saying my voice is far. Because the table I'm using is low. It's a bit low. Okay, I hope it's better now. So let's drop our comments. What you think as well. Let's just while I move on. So we're emphasizing climate change mitigation. What do we do? How do we control this menace? It's a menace already. Last year, 2 years ago, I saw a documentary on CNN. There's this woman in Kenya. She had 9 cows, and that was how she was sustaining her family. 9 cows. By the time I was watching that documentary, she only had 1 left. And I saw one who was dying, in real time, lying on the floor. Others were dead. And her husband had left her. He ran away. I don't know where to. She said she doesn't know, because she was always milking those cows, selling the milk, sending her 2 children to school in the rural community. So because of droughts, the level of drought in Kenya, I think the Kenyans that are here can testify to it. Since last year or 2 years ago, has been alarming. So, I mean, that was what I saw on CNN. That's how bad it is, climate change related hazard. So, and we emphasize the role of forests, tree planting, helping us to reduce emissions, carbon sequestration, and all that. And most importantly, we also mentioned a couple of African countries, I mean, case studies. Things are happening across Africa. Case studies: Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, and Nigeria. Rwanda as well. I was in Kigali last year. I mean, Kigali is practically becoming the circular economy capital center of Africa. Kigali has the only e-waste recycling factory in Africa, biggest one. So most e-waste, electronic waste from Nigeria, from Ghana, from around Rwanda is being shipped into Rwanda for recycling. And still, that facility cannot even recycle everything. Part of it is still being exported back to Dubai for further value addition and all that. So why is climate change mitigation important? So you can also drop in the chat box what mitigation strategies have been adopted in your countries, what you have noticed, or what you are doing in particular. I'm also interested because part of the reason we are here is also to design a solution in something that will truly bring transformational change across our societies and communities in Africa. So what are you doing? Am I audible enough now? I'm still seeing far away. Am I audible enough
Yes,
now?
you are.
Okay, awesome. Thank
Yes,
you.
you're audible.
Thank you. Okay, I believe for mitigation of climate change, for African leaders and other body support, we have the resources, there should be investment in human capital. Absolutely. So at the national level in Nigeria, there are policies ineffective. Thank you. Implementation is usually, I mean, because the type of minds and heads they put there, we are still literally still praying to God for, and these are just basics. Good people who truly are qualified and all that. Can you please amplify your voice? Okay, hello, can you hear me now? All right, so thank you for the comments. Please, your country's network is not encouraging. Can you please amplify your voice a little? Okay. So I should literally let me learn to speak louder. Okay, so I'll just amplify. Apologies for that. So please share across your countries. I mean, what are the mitigation strategies in place? And what are you doing in particular? What is your innovation? What are you doing in that your community of yours? What role are you playing? So your country and yourself. That would be interesting. Thank you. So why is climate change mitigation important in developing countries? So we mentioned several reasons, right? One of the reasons, like I said, I mean, Africa contributes less than 11% to greenhouse gas emissions. China contributes about 24%, being the largest. US is a little above 14%, 11 to 15%, I think. Zambia and other nations. I mean, China is just one country, the US is just one country, the entire Africa, less than 11%. And yet, we suffer the consequences the most because they can offer, they have a lot of infrastructure in place, the level of technology, their institutions are way advanced. And so, so on and so forth. Also, we know that finance is a major factor across Africa. We know that finance is a major factor. Largely African nations have been too dependent, on aid. And like I said last section, I'm glad. I mean, Ruto and President Ruto and some other African leaders and institutions are ready, kicking against that. We don't want aid. We want level playing ground. We have the resources. If only our leaders can recognize that. For renewable energy, it's all in Africa. It's all in Africa. We have everything. So we must maximize that opportunity. But I always say that we can't build a sustainable future on extraction. Keep extracting. There's something called, okay, I'll get back to that in some slide. So, while climate change mitigation is important, we need funding. Very, very important. The level of technology in developing countries, technology required right now, most African countries don't even have it. They are probably not close to 20% of it But in this European country, there's one of those Scandinavian countries I mentioned, either Finland or Norway or Denmark. These countries that have achieved, there's one particular country. The country is already achieving 80 to 90% renewable energy implementation, practical, 80 to 90%. I mean, there are small islands, also that, I mean, they have much more, much more energy, renewable energy than they require for their country, much more. So, another example I mentioned is somewhere in the slides. Okay, maybe it's not in the slide. South Africa has at 2020, between 2020 and 2022, had about 6,000 electric vehicles, in operation. 6,000. And go to Europe, go to America, they have in millions, they have it in millions. So Kenya is trailing South Africa. And like I said, I only heard there was one in Nigeria one time, and it was packed, it was abandoned. So we have a long way to go. And so we really need to start putting mitigation in place in developing countries. So we need to, sustainable land use practices. I also mentioned that cooking is when I was on my master's program, cooking, that's when I realized that cooking is a major, one of the reasons people cut down trees. That's how in most rural areas, that's how they cook. They cut down trees. I mean, there's no law controlling that. So you can imagine the amount of trees that have been cut down in the last 100 years. Even if 24 years, they cut down trees, women, and I mean that's the only way they can cook. So I mean, for so many other reasons as well. And even like I said, but most importantly, our environment is in trouble. What Kenya is going through, even Nigeria, we experience some unusual flooding pattern like we've never seen. Even in the northern part of Nigeria, where you have heat and sun almost all year, little rainfall. I mean, it's predictable. Precipitation is predictable those days in the north. Now some northern part of Nigeria, overflooding, destroying, property and assets worth billions of naira. So the adoption of climate change mitigation measures requires significant investment. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We don't have the technology yet. I believe we have the mind, actually. I mean, Africans are some of the best in the world. If you look at the startup space now, Africans are raking in more venture capitalist funds, almost than even Europe, than all these other countries. India is probably the only country a bit ahead of Africa. But startups like Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, they are doing massive. I mean, so guys, things are changing a bit, but we still have a long way to go. So the final reason why climate change mitigation is important is the essence of international cooperation. So we actually need support as much as we're not begging for aid. Collaboration is the way out. I mean, so goal 17. And we also emphasize the role of government. That one cannot be overemphasized at all. There are things, I mean, like I also mentioned, people are fond of, I mean, in this part of the world, people are fond of saying, what are you doing? What are you doing for Nigeria? What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, please, can you keep quiet? There are things that government must put in place. Systems and structures and reliable institutions, strong institutions. These are the elements that, I mean, will make any nation be unique, any nation grow, develop, I mean, and sustainable. We don't have them, unfortunately. I mean, in Nigeria here, the foundations are literally built on corruption and maybe favoritism, incompetence. I mean, the new president, aside, I mean, the minister of, I think it's communication innovation now, or the founder of co-creation of, that's about one person. We are truly joyful that is in this cabinet. We've never had people like that. Then the last person during the two previous president was Akinwumi Adesina, the current African Development Bank president. He did amazingly well as a minister of agriculture, some 12 years ago, 16 years ago. So government is expected to, the role of government cannot be overemphasized, please. I mean, there's a need to, we talked about policy, we can't emphasize policy. One policy can affect 1 billion people, just one. And I think I referenced when the policy on ease of doing business was, enacted and put in place. back in the day, before you can register a startup, an enterprise, business name, you go through hell. It was actually hell. Right, the moment former Vice President Shibajo, former Nigerian Vice President, worked on it with his team, and it was in law. Registering businesses was like almost like, just a snap of a finger. And you have, one of my businesses certificate was delivered to my house. I did everything online. And I still pay the same amount, and I was wondering what had been happening. So one policy, ease of doing business, one policy changed the landscape. Transformed it. So Nigeria has developed a national climate change policy and response strategy. Every nation, like I was talking about, Rwanda has a circular economy roadmap. Europe, there's a circular economy roadmap. In Chile, there's a circular economy roadmap. South Africa too has Madagascar. Yes, I have a friend in Madagascar to work with the government. We have a platform, circular economy platform. So we requested for templates, and we're able to start. So if Madagascar is what, so we need every nation, we need this in place. Government provides incentives. So we mentioned South Africa's case study. South Africa has implemented the renewable energy dependent power producer procurement program. And what this type of initiative, a policy like this does is you inspire and motivate private sector. We can't do it without private. We better get to the business community. Private sector to invest heavily in renewables. So, but right now, cost is actually high. I made mention of the solar project I'm doing for my own home. I wish I'd done it last year before the prices skyrocketed, but I was probably procrastinating or feeling, and I probably used the money for something else. But right now, I'm at it. We are on it at the moment. And our generator is also being converted to, gas. There's this gas tool. I can't remember, gas carburetor. Yes. So they say, so if petrol will take me 1 week, gas will take almost 2 weeks, and I will even pay maybe the same amount, but I get a week extra for using gas. I'm just saying. So everybody's just trying to. So we need to provide incentive. Government will do that. Increase public awareness. Government controls media largely. Yes, private owners have media, but government has all the advantage. Awareness in rural grassroots. We have local governments in Nigeria. I'm not sure about the government structure in other African countries. We have local government. We have councillors, people reaching directly to the grassroots. We have constituency leaders, and they get funding for. So massive public awareness. You'll be surprised that. As a circular economy expert, I have conducted some form of survey, and you'll be surprised. Largely, climate change, largely, several youths are still not aware. Trust me, those that are aware, they just have surface level knowledge. They don't. Oh yes, climate change. Temperature is changing. They really don't understand it in depth. There are even much more people who have not even never heard about circular economy, who don't understand what it means, who don't understand what climate change means, what led to it. So this public awareness is important, very, 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 very important. So the Kenyan government launched a campaign to educate the public on the need to reduce plastic waste. There's actually a ban, I mentioned that too, since I think 2018. And the compliance level is quite high. I have a friend of Kenya, so she works with the top research and consulting organization. She gives me a bit. Then promote international cooperation. That's the role of government. That's why we have different ministries that handle our foreign affairs and all that. So African Union has developed the African Renewable Energy Initiative to promote development of renewable energy in Africa. Like we said, Africa is at the center right now because we have everything from sun to wind to water. We have everything, and even most importantly, natural resources. We have everything. Oh, sorry, most importantly, human capital. We have the mind. I was in Ghana in June. I've been to Ghana a couple of times. I was in Kigali. I have seen that. I met Nigerians in the UK. I met other African countries in the UK. I've had African citizens. Amazing minds doing amazing things. Amazing things. So we have everything it takes. So role of African business community, and that was what I was trying to say the other time. We cannot, while we emphasize the place of government, business community is mostly drives any economy. So because I was talking about the number of small businesses registered as at 2015 when I was training for Google, about 34 million registered. There are actually much more businesses not registered in existence. So the idea is that, I mean, and you can that's just small businesses. I mean, we have several multinationals, private organizations, here and there across Africa. So we need the business community to play as much role as possible to reduce carbon footprint. For example, many companies are switching. So, I mean, these companies are the ones largely regulating or managing companies and industries, really. I mean, all of those organizations in America emitting greenhouse gases, they are owned by largely private people, Fortune 500 companies and co. So same in Africa. I mean, Dangote is the richest, African. You can imagine how he just launched his what's it called now? Refinery in Lekki. I mean, so I was discussing with some friends recently, and we're like, why is the world not even talking against it? In this age and time, somebody spent billions of dollars, multi-billions of dollars to set up such plants. I mean, still to refine crude oil. And we are planning to scale and then leave that era. Somebody is just, and I mean, that's to let you know that unfortunately, these capitalists are still, and a lot of nations are still largely dependent on oil. So we need businesses to take the lead. So businesses employ a lot of people too. This is my personal opinion. So whatever you do in your organization, it influences your staff, the management. So implement green supply chains. I mean, I remember I mentioned 2 scenarios, Hold Up, and there's another one. I really don't know their name. They moved from farm produce from the northern part of Nigeria to the southwest and other regions. And the truck runs on is electric powered, and it also has a cold storage, so nothing gets spoiled wasted, because we talked about the level of post-harvest waste in Africa, Nigeria, everywhere in the world actually, but largely in Africa, because we don't have such infrastructures. Develop and invest in green technologies. African businesses can invest and develop green technologies that reduces emissions. For example, Nigerians and large group limited has invested in biomass plants, and that's been the major talk everywhere now. There's a lot we can do with wastes, convert them to biogas, biomass, and all that. Even people are generating diesel and other forms of crude oil from this waste, but we are not interested in that biogas and the rest. So that we are restoring and regenerating our environment. Then largely, I mean, we always need private sector collaboration with government and major stakeholders. So the business community is actually a major stakeholder. The African Development Bank is, I mean, we cannot but reference AFT. What Akin Ominambode is doing is massive. I mean, it's really massive. So the business community is very integral, to fighting climate change. I'll try and run, the bits. Mitigation strategies. So please, you can, especially for those that are joining us for the first time, corruption is the biggest enemy to African economy. I mean, I can't agree more. It's unfortunate. I think most of our leaders are after making promises and no action. I agree. I just came across a paper that talks about net metering in renewable energy, and I find, oh yes, interesting. Yes, the net of Muslim renewable energy sector is huge, bringing huge revenue to the nation. Yeah, true. Interesting. Even some university students don't have a fair idea about. Thank you. They have no clue. You are even saying fair idea. Largely, institutions, university students, they have no clue. I was in University of Science and Technology in June recently, and I see that the level of awareness is actually not bad. Actually, I was really impressed. Went there on the field, the research field trip. Please just keep dropping the comments. What's happening in your country? What I've not seen what anybody is doing. What are we doing? We have young, amazing minds here. What are you doing? I want to see that what mitigation strategies are, even if it's still at idea stage. Please suggest them. You never can tell where that will take us. So despite the continent's abundance, I was talking about millions of people lacking access to modern energy. So while I was running my master's program, I came across energy poverty. That was what I talked about. largely women across rural regions, even men. The women do most of the cooking. They still cut down firewood. They still firewood, and they inhale the smoke. That's unfortunate. It's the truth. They inhale it. I think that one of the advantages people in rural, remote areas have is the fact that they live inside nature. So what they breathe in is not what we are breathing in the city. It's way different. I mean, like the example I just gave, the former room I was. I mean, the level of the smoke from the generator was inhaling was massive. It was literally like, when you spray perfume and it's that obvious. So in the rural area, and they have access to fresh food largely around them, they have vegetables. I mean, they have all other than their farms. So I always say, I mean, that's probably part of what's, and they don't have access to some of these junks, burger and several other junks that we consume regularly. So the continent's energy mix is still dominated by fossil fuel. Yeah. So with coal, oil, and gas accounting for over 80% of total installed capacity, countries such as Morocco, Egypt, Kenya, South Africa have made significant strides in adopting renewable energy technologies. So, I mean, we cannot overemphasize the role of renewable energy. We cannot overemphasize. I didn't mention agroecology last time. I mean, agroecology is we must begin to integrate it. I mean, that used to be the practice back in the day. I remember in primary school, primary education, as far as primary level, I understood what crop rotation meant. People don't practice it like, I mean, like, they used to those days, just from monocropping. So agroecology, crop planting in the midst of trees. Yes, I mean, some people are against it. I mean, especially commercial farmers, that the trees would take chunk of spaces you could have used to grow your plot and all that. But trees are very important for reducing erosion, for enriching our soils, then biodiversity. I mean, and all that. The leaves of the trees will fall back to the soil, decompose, and add nutrients to the soil. Applications of renewable energies across Africa. So I'll just summarize this. One of the interesting ones is the fact that, from solar PV, South Africa is, generating 6,000 megawatts. That's a lot. I remember the Heathrow Airport alone generates or requires 10,000 megawatts. As maybe 10 years ago. 10,000 megawatts. That's just one airport. I'm not even sure Nigeria is probably generating up to 7,000 megawatts. You know what we are generating here? I mean, across your countries, I'm not sure we are generating up to 10,000 megawatts. And just one airport, Heathrow, is generating 10,000 or requires 10,000 to operate. Can imagine the amount of lights and technology and gadgets and all that there. So, and I mentioned one scenario, one of the solar companies I worked with, how the company installed massive, solar panels in this rural community, powered by bank of industry. So the community, I mean, largely farmers, predominantly farmers, were paying very, 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 very little, something that you don't even feel it for you because it was sponsored by bank of industry. So what they were just paying was just, and they had access to access for their businesses, for their kids to study at night, for other things. There were store owners who had refrigerators and they could power it for a certain number of hours daily. So, businesses thriving, communities with light and all that. I mean, there's still several rural schools that have computers, but they've never been on because no electricity. When I did for Nigerians on this call, when I did my NYC National Youth Service Corps, it's a program, a compulsory initiative in Nigeria once you graduate from the university. It's a 1 year like service to your nation. So I served in the eastern part of Nigeria, and the community that I served, that community, I mean, electricity, and I don't know about now. As at that time, I had never, you don't understand, they've never seen it, never. So I got there, I started saying, okay, please, are you saying when God said let there be light, light did not get to this place? I mean, numerous people were laughing. I couldn't believe it. And they had the governor, politicians, a lot of, I mean, that's one of the wealthiest eastern states. I think the new governor is doing amazingly well now. And that's one of the largest cultivators of rice in Nigeria, that state. So huge amount of rice husk I mean, everything wasting that we can use to convert to electricity, to generate electricity for rural communities. Challenges facing renewable energy technologies, adoption in Africa. We talked about cost, we kind of emphasize that. We talked about the fact that policies are not enabling. We need enabling policies. Sometimes I feel like some of these politicians, I mean, I think we're having truly transformational politicians, but there are still not many, maybe 1 in 1,000. I don't know. That's my own opinion. I feel some of them don't even have the capacity, the competence to understand, how to drive this climate agenda. They're just there, because somebody just placed them there. So we don't have enough enabling policies. The policies that will encourage private sectors to invest in renewable energy, the level of tax, duties they get will be so low that they want to invest more into it because it has long-term impact and effect on lives, on the environment, on ecosystems and the economy. Most importantly, lack of technical skills. Yes, I mentioned that in our institutions, largely some of this the renewable energy, aside solar panels, solar photovoltaic, solar panels, other aspect of it, geothermal, windmill and all that is still not properly taught. So I mentioned the boy who harnessed the wind. Remember the movie? The guy, when he was done with say high school, got a scholarship in South Africa to study for that. I mean, South Africa is one of the most advanced African nations. Then I think afterwards, he still ended up in Germany. Yes, South Africa, I mean, he learned a lot there, fully funded, but I think he still ended up in Germany, one of those European countries. So we really need to, our institutions, we need to scale. We need to be at par with the future. Lack of access to finance. We can't even overemphasize this finance. So climate finance is big deal now on the table. And there's a particular policy. And if I remember it, I mentioned it. So it's strictly for African countries. We are supposed to be accessing that fund. If you remember it, you can pop it in the chat. Access this fund because we are largely suffering from the effect more than the people polluting the environment. Way more than them. Energy efficiency measures. We talked about African leadership universities, built environments. I remember Mayor was challenging us, those in the construction industry, across industries. So buildings, I mean, largely we have, I told you, one of the reasons for deforestation also is people are clearing forests to build homes and houses and offices and all sorts of structures. Just wipe out entire hectares, just to build. And when these guys, I mean, the people who got developers in Nigeria even built, trust me, a plot of land, they can erect 1,000 plots of flats there. Disaster, no flower, no tree, no nothing, no parking space. I mean, you just erect buildings to make money, not factoring. So there should be laws. This is part of what I want to start pushing with one of my big startup. We need, because back in the day, growing up, 3 out of 5 houses, you will find a fruit tree, more than a fruit tree. Growing up places, we have them all around us. Every season, there's these fruits we are plucking, we are eating fresh, all around us. We have them all. But right now, trust me, the small garden, they will turn it into a one-room apartment. Is that bad? So in African Leadership University, when I was there last year, I mean, I was truly mesmerized. It was an amazing experience. Built with clay, local people were involved, so there was not even any need to import any material. Everything was sourced locally. I mean, promoting socio-economic, variables, employing local hands, and it's clay. Clay is still one of the best materials for building, and that's what our forefathers used to build with. Except that we didn't have technologies to advance it. So the moment cement came up and the other brick and sand, we just abandoned it. I mean, there are still a lot of buildings in the UK. I mean, built, with clay. So a built environment is important. If you're in the construction industry, it's very, very important. So you can read up on it. And then I also mentioned there's this other space also in Kigali that I went to. I remember Noskin Center. Amazing. No single fan air conditioner, air conditioning facility, or none. Natural ambience lights, largely ambience lights flooding the place. I mean, rain cannot get in. If you're not careful, I told you, you will be shivering if you're not careful. I mean, we're just thrilled. So we need to, cascade that, replicate it across Africa. I mean, there should be building. I think we will get there. Building laws. Okay, I can name it. So Kenya has implemented building energy efficiency code. We need that. If we don't put regulation, this is still the role of government. And the associations, I mean, there are professional associations, there are, all sort of associations. So we need to put, these standards in place, set them so everybody can start building upon, because the construction industry is also one of the largest, emitters of greenhouse gas emission. So then transportation, you can imagine the millions and millions amount of cars we have on the road. I mean, since I was born and now that I'm still young, a lot of used cars are still being shipped from Europe to America, across the world to Africa. Nigeria is even a major business. We call them Tokumba cars, and I mean, you can imagine. So we still have a lot of, so transportation is key. Netherlands, I mean, the largest, users of bicycles is deliberate. They know what they're doing just to make sure that you don't emit all this smoke from our exhaust, car exhaust and all that. We don't have them in the environment, because what we breathe also matters. Kenya has developed a comprehensive public transportation system that includes buses, trains, and light rail. Lagos State Governor was announcing on Twitter this morning the Lagos rail, that rail from it runs through a couple of kilometers or miles. So I mean, yeah, so it's not in electric power, but transportation is everything. Transportation, I always say, with movement, change begins. Once you can movement, I mean, if you give birth to a baby, when the baby start walking, not crawling, even from crawling, then you have to be on your toes, parents, because that baby can get to anywhere. So increase in the use of electric vehicles, improving fuel efficiency standards. I also referenced Warwick University when I was there last year, the car park. I mean, I was amazed. I saw the amount of charging points, and I'm like, whoa, 2022, a university, so we need that across Africa as well. Our transport system was, there are several countries now, no time to explore them. Huge buses, trucks, 100% on electric powered. Rwanda has implemented a motorcycle. I noticed in Rwanda there's a lot of, just like in Nigeria, there's a lot of motorbikes for commercial transportation actually. So now, I mean, implementing the electric motorcycles, because they ply the road a lot. You'll be amazed. One person can probably transport or move maybe over 100 person per day. So now imagine, in Nigeria, they are probably over 100,000. We call them Okada riders. Maybe over 100, if not much more actually. What am I saying? Maybe in 3 years actually. So multiply that by 50 people every day. And imagine if you can just gauge and measure the amount of carbon being, set into the atmosphere, to be so alarming. So, and this has been happening for donkey years. So South Africa also implemented efficiency standards. Energy efficiency measures. So let's just dwell on forest here. I saw on the news yesterday, the Nigerian government said the government has spent over 80 billion naira planting trees on this green wall initiative. Planting trees, I think 1 million trees across different cities. And I'm like, where are the trees, please? I'm still looking for them. But 80 billion naira, that's a lot of, I really can't see the trees, except to go to our universities. I mean, that's where and the universities invested in that. So we can overemphasize forest conservation and afforestation. Very, 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 very important. I referenced the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture. Interestingly, I was there last Saturday. There's this bird club, just go there and watch birds. That's what we do once every month. Quite interesting. So IITA is situated on 1,000 hectares, of land. That's massive. There's an artificial lake there. I mean, all sort of species of birds, of animals, of when you get into the place, you don't feel like coming out. Most people take there for the first time, they don't feel like coming out. So forest conservation is important. So afforestation is even much more important. There are territories that are like deserts. Not that trees were cut down. Afforestation is like growing trees where you usually don't have trees. So we also need to invest heavily in that. If Dubai can create water in deserts, then we'll be able to do that as well. We need to do much more of that. Some countries are establishing protected areas. I'll just move on the fast. energy efficiency measures. I think we talked about, oh, so this was where I was supposed to continue. So waste management strategies in Africa. African cities generate over 125 million tons of waste annually, and less than half of it is collected. When you're using that, out of that less than half collected, less than 10% is recycled. I mean, is that bad? That's a source from World Bank. Some African countries have adopted waste to energy strategy. I mean, everybody's talking about waste to energy, plastic waste, and the focus has largely been on plastic waste. And I also always like to say that fashion is another huge contributor of waste generator of greenhouse gas. Fashion is huge, construction, yes, the plastic industry, yes, packaging, restaurants, grocery stores, and all that. South Africa is one of the leading countries in Africa in terms of recycling, with over 1,700 recycling companies and more than 70. I mean, the sector, these 70,000 employed, maybe, I mean, a direct labor. They're the collectors, they are waste collectors. I mean, these guys we call them scavengers here. They are truly the people at the forefront, which we call them frontliners. They help with sorting, the picking, to make it easy. So, but like I said, waste management is not going to be enough. Circular economy is very, 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 very trivial. Let me give you, and I always like to say, I can't remember if I mentioned that. Okay? Recycling is not the silver bullet. Recycling is not the ultimate. When you say sustainable development, waste management, it's not in circular economy. I think I mentioned that. Recycling is look of last resort. It's the last thing. It's not even the first. But we already have the millions of tons of waste already out there. So we need to start clearing them and recycling them. Unfortunately, most of the products were not even designed to be recycled. So let me give you an analogy. So for those who are, yes, recycling is important. So I'm not saying it's not important, but look for is the last. So if we get our design right, recycling will be the last thing after a product has been used and used and shared and shared and shared and repaired and repaired and repaired. We've exhausted value as nothing for 20 years. That's when you think of recycling. Then you can, from separate the parts. Right now, they just lump up different materials or resources, elements to create products. So to now recycle them becomes a problem. Let me give you an analogy. So imagine you turn on a tap. The water is running, right? Running and hitting the ground. So imagine the tap is running and you are mopping the water, the one flowing on the floor. You are mopping and squeezing into a bucket. Are you actually reducing the water? Yes, you are reducing it. But what's happening? There's still the source from the source. So the true sustainable development and waste management strategy would be, taming it from the source. And design is the holy grail. I've said it. Design is the holy grail. So you can thank you for the applause. So design is the holy grail. We cannot continue to extract from finite resources from our environment. We make products, and they literally end up in landfills. That's where they end up. It's like we're conditioned to just put them away. So we need designers, industrial designers, manufacturers, all these companies producing stuffs, and even countries managing resources. There's something called biomimicry. I don't know if you've heard. Biomimicry is an innovation, simply means you are mimicking nature. So if you know coral reefs, if you know what coral reefs mean, for those of you that are operating in the blue economy space, that's water and oceans. Coral reefs have been depleted by people fishing over the years. Coral reefs, if you see those Nat Geo wide underwater documentaries, those beautiful sceneries, there are millions and millions of species that we don't even know. They exist there, and there's a reason they are there. I mean, there's a synergy. So it's been destroyed by fishing nets, by all sort of exploration and all that. Now, some people started from plant-based materials, started recreating. It's like home for several species. Started recreating them and placing them underwater. And in few months, I mean, this artificial, what did I even call it? This underwater habitat, this artificial, there's a name I call it, just the underwater habitat I talked about, coral reefs. Thank you, coral reefs. I mean, species started coming back. Underwater regions that these species were gone, destroyed. They started coming back. That's biomimicry. We don't have to extract anything new from the environment. Now people are using seaweed. Seaweed grows. I mean, when you call something, you cut and cut. Even when you apply total chemicals, weed will still grow. No matter what, you can only delay the growth. So seaweed is actually very useful. That's one other aspect I'm hoping I can set up a lab and explore, seaweed. Seaweed is being used to produce packaging, plastic packaging, edible packaging, several solutions from seaweed. It grows on its own. So you are not, and you can actually cultivate it as well. So that's the essence of biomimicry. So you're not just taking and taking. So waste management is not just, we're not just managing the waste. I mean, we have to design solutions from the get-go, from the origin, from the source. So, and there are several other, there's this set of startup in Europe, I think, or America. What they do is, for fruits in grocery stores, you won't find them in those plastic packaging. There's this very thin sheet, like nylon, but it's not, it's made from plants. So, I mean, you can grow plants, whatever, in your environment and use them and replant them. Not like when you cut down an Iroko tree, it probably take 30 years, I mean, to grow that big, maybe even more. I think 50 years, maybe even more. So by the time you cut down such beautiful tree, cut down so many of them, you probably won't find them anymore. So, I just wanted to emphasize that recycling is not. So what recycling does is, I mean, we already have all the waste out there. So recycling is a beautiful initiative, trust me. But then recycling cannot solve the problem. Recycling is look of last resorts. So we need to design products to be recyclable. We need, I mentioned cradle to cradle, not cradle to grave. This product, I talked about obsolescence. Most of our phones have what do you call it? End of life. Whether you used it or not, after a certain number of years, it just shuts down so that you can buy another one. Then we discard that. I mean, it's beyond repair. You can't repair it. So I mean, it's that bad. So yes, we need more recycling companies, but then we need to start talking to designers. They are major industrial designers. So choice of material is in secret. What choice of material we use? I used to. Oh, so I mean, I have a product now. I'll try and get it from the other office in the back. I hope it's there. I designed a biodegradable bottle-shaped seed paper. It's bottle-shaped because I want to start a campaign. That my biodegradable bottle-shaped. If you plant, put it in the soil, would you believe it if I told you that you harvest food, healthy food? I'll try and get it and show you. Maybe once I wrap up, I don't want to disrupt this section again. I mean, the day I showed one of the soda water producing from one of their staff, he's supposed to go meet like his boss. When he saw it, he was literally inspired. He said, "Can I help them truly create?" And now they're actually bio-based bottles, plastics, bioplastics. Yeah, some of them are even made from seaweed and other materials. Other materials. It was like, I laughed. He said, "This is their own petroleum bottle. Can I help them recreate it such that after drinking, the drink in it is biggie. Biggie in Nigeria. Once you take the soda water, you drop it on the soil and it starts growing." I'm like, okay, calm down. But that opened even my mind again to the possibilities, what we can achieve. That was last year. Now we have bioplastics and we are going to get there. Such as this plastic will not be made from harmful material. Drop a plastic bottle, trust me, 300 years, some people even say 500 years from some findings. You still meet it there intact, 500 years. There was one of the tree planting projects we carried out some months ago in one high school here in Nigeria. We're now digging to plant that particular tree species. By the time we got to, let me say, a feet, yes, we dug up to a feet plus. I saw a Coca-Cola bottle as fresh. It must have been there for them. You know what a feet would be? That deep. It's not going anywhere. It's going to remain there for years, hundreds of years. No sign of decomposition or biodegradation, at all. So recycling rate in South Africa is, across our African countries, recycling rate is way low. And we are hoping that, the private sector is actually doing a lot. And like I said, Coca-Cola is really investing in that. And I'm hoping that I'll probably be able to upgrade my solution such that, I can start helping them to produce biodegradable bottles. Real ones. I'm going to be able to maybe a few. Thank you. So, don't worry, I'll need partners to collaborate and can you imagine what amount of transformation that would do to our environment, the amount of jobs we will create. Potential areas for improvement. African nations need to invest in waste management structures, in my house since 2020. I have been what's the word? Composting my kitchen food waste every up till now. In fact, it's part of the product that I've been making money from. I've been put to several platforms just because of that. Composting them now. I'm investing in black soldier fly as well. For those of you know black soldier fly, we don't waste food in my house. We go to recycle and compost manure, and I've tested the manure when it was ready on different crops and did amazingly well. So increase public awareness. Government must implement, like we said, it's agreed. So we are doing initiatives. I feel we should catch them young. Let's try and penetrate. Last year I started the first circular economy seminar in Nigeria. This I'm sure of Lagos. Adolescents and teenagers, they've never heard about it before. They only know here recycle, reuse, because that's where they teach them. So I gave them exactly, and they understood it. And we had some practical sections. It was amazing. If this were to be a practical section, I would have put us into group. We would do practical work there with plastic and other materials, and it will be very immersive. So increase public awareness. We should go into our curriculum. I remember some years back I wanted to design a book, for schools, and I know one person in Nigeria is already doing that. We still, but like I said, we still need to do a lot more. So what we also need to invest in addition is, like I said, design. We need to bring companies together, designers together, visual designers, product designers together, and start teaching them, organizations that are into designs, choice of material, everything, engineers, architects. We need all of them, of course, plus the market women, plus the trader, plus the students. We need to bring, all stakeholders together and drive this orientation, this new idea, into all everybody's mind. Governments must implement policies and regulations such as extended procedural responsibility. So I was talking about product as service. Philips started it in US. Is it US or Australia? Either US, Australia, or Netherlands. Philips. So they test run with it. So you don't need to buy your bulb, your incandescent bulb. Philips can install. You only pay. You pay for the service. So if anything happens to it, Philips come and pull it, fix it, change it, and give you another one. So nothing goes to waste. So when Philip is designing the bulb, the incandescent bulb, Philip knows that if anything happens to, so the choice of material from start, Philip can separate all elements that are alike, that are familiar elements, not like everything is lumped up like we have currently. And it was a huge success. Like I'll probably look for the country. Maybe Mario will share on the platform story. Amazing case study. So that's product as service. You need to do a lot of that. You don't need to own all of it. In London, I think last year, they started one area in London, library of things. Neighbors were donating your spoons, your plates, those things you really don't use. So people can come rent them. You don't need to. So if I move into that area, I don't need to go shop for pots I just rent, use them, pay a token. When I'm leaving, I also return it, something like that. That's library of things. We don't have that yet across Africa. It's one of the solutions. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm hoping I can launch as well, but how many things can I do? So, then low carbon development pathways. Module 3, planning and implementing mitigation. Somebody talked about implementation. Let me just check here quickly. Recycling effects and to address the industry promotion of the government policies, public awareness, campaigns, investment in recycling infrastructure, collaboration with informal. Thank you. Governmental and international policies are important tools. No doubt. There is no strong mechanism to get them implemented, then they become very useless. True. This is how do we get to know our country? Okay. That's cool. Okay. So I just quickly. So we're looking at assessing mitigation needs and opportunities that are fine and engaging. This assessment. Let me tell you one of the importance of assessment. So there's this particular organization, one of the leading health, organizations in the world, came to a community in Nigeria, and because it's a riverine area, they just assumed that malaria will be, of course, there were cases of malaria. Malaria will be a major problem. Need assessment is very important. If I had time, I would have, expounded on design thinking, human-centered approach to innovation, You know, why you must involve the people you are designing for before you do anything. So, I mean, they had all the money. They brought very expensive quality fishing nets. Sorry, mosquito nets. Sorry, mosquito nets. Brought and distributed. Very expensive one. I mean, just assume that, this community, let's just give them, you know, mosquito nets. What there's stagnant water all around them. You know what the people did with the fishing nets? I mean, mosquito net. They turned it into fishing nets. By the time the organization came for monitoring and evaluation, they turned it into fishing nets. So you must do needs assessment. So they came back, they're hoping that they will see it in their homes, and it was there. Some were even already on the floor, you know, because it's not meant for catching fish. You can imagine the chemicals in the net too that, you know, somehow flowed into the water. You're laughing. It's actually funny. So need assessment is everything. It's very important. So also with this climate change, you know, the hazardous effects, we need to assess mitigation needs and opportunities. So, and across Africa, I mean, one major example is the nationally determined contributions, you know, under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Another example is the Climate Business Plan developed by the African Development Bank. I mean, that bank is really doing amazing things. So it's important to, so what AFDB does is per country and region, they do assessments, mitigation assessment from flooding to water needs, to forest generation need, to renewable. AFDB is investing heavily in renewable energy. So there's a lot of assessment being done. And also not just being done, it's done such that they help countries to see opportunities in it. Even if AFDB is giving you, say, loan opportunities, you know, in it, how to make money from it. I mean, how to really cascade it to make impacts in life. Private sector, for example, the climate investment funds have supported private. Yes, this climate investment fund, organizations are really tapping into it. The climate investment fund has provided funding for renewable energy projects, such as the 310 megawatt Lake Turkana wind project in Kenya, power project in Kenya, which is the largest wind power project in Africa. Identifying and engaging stakeholders. That's what design thinking is all about. Human-centered approach. In fact, in design thinking, we say you don't even know what the solution will be. No matter how creative you are, you don't know. You have to talk to the people first. Let me quickly cite an example. Years back, before I became chapter organizer for Open IDEO. IDEO is one of the leading creative organizations in the world. IDEO, as a matter of fact, designed Apple's first mouse. If you remember Steve Jobs' first mouse, IDEO designed it, just to let you know how creative they are. But now IDEO is leading this, you know, circular economy, sustainable development, designed, you know, challenge. That's what, so they are changing their business model, you know, to reflect sustainable designs and all that for their clients. So in this particular period in Kenya, there was issue of teenage pregnancy. It was really rampant. So government and stakeholders called consultants, health practitioners, creative people. Anyways, they came up with their own solutions and started building sort of kiosk or counseling centers around communities. I mean, I read it on IDEO website before I ever became a leader on the IDEO platform. And we realized that especially the young girls, they were not showing up. They thought they wanted privacy. They just assumed, you know, that they wanted privacy so they can open up. They didn't show up, so it was a white elephant project wasted. Eventually, the government invited IDEO from the US. So IDEO came. So what we do in design thinking is you engage these people you're designing for. IDEO was with these girls, selected girls for 3 months. First month, went back. So there's empathy. Then you define the problem. It's a process. You ideate. When you ideate, you develop prototype, you test. It's you know, you keep iterating. So, and these answers are always with the people you're designing for. Trust me. So we don't go like we know what to do. We talk to you, and we, in the process of, you know, engaging the people you're designing for, there are different board, all sort of games we play. These games will help, you know, you have to be very upfront. I mean, that's another aspect that I for you. I was just trying to say, you know, the essence of this assessment is very, very, very important. Identifying and engaging stakeholders, very, very important. So the climate change mitigation is an example is the African Renewable Energy Initiative, which aims to achieve at least 300 gigawatts, that's a lot, of renewable energy capacity in Africa by 2030. You must involve, you know, the government, the private sector, community people. You must involve them. You know, people must be carried along. You'll be surprised what people know, what they can share. And that's one magic of brainstorming. Developing a mitigation action plan. Mitigation action plan involves identifying sources of greenhouse. Of course, we've identified them. Cutting down trees, fossil fuels, transportation, the construction industry, fashion industry. I said last time that agriculture is one of the largest contributors, to greenhouse gas emission. Methane is at least 25 times more potent than carbon, food waste, when we dump them in landfill, and we're just there. We just start emitting methane. We are yet to focus on and do a lot of the food system space. So setting targets and goals and implementing and monitoring the plans. This is like a summary. You identify the sources of greenhouse gas, evaluate the potential mitigation measures. What strategies can we put in place? Of course, you have to look at your resources, your capacity, your partnerships, your assets and all that. Your advantages, economies of scale and all that. Then set targets and goals. Very important. You have to set targets. You want to achieve certain number of gigawatts, megawatts. You want to have planted certain, say, 100 millions of trees by social period. You want to have run campaign for like 5 years non-stop. Want to reach out to local people, provide for instance, a lot of our smallholder farmers, they still don't know. The last research I did last year, some of the things they still don't know there's something called drought resilient seeds and pest resistant seeds. They still don't know. There's several of them that they can actually plant now and still be profitable. Planning and implementing mitigation measures. Financing and mobilizing, and we can't emphasize financing. We continue to emphasize it. It's important, and we must do everything. Like I said, I reached out to some of my friends that were organizing. I'm part of the private sector organizing the African Climate Summit, and I noticed that my registration has not been approved. So I got an email that I should register all over again for late registration. So I did that yesterday night. I'm hoping that it will be approved. I really love to be in Kenya. And that's the first of its kind in Africa. That's like our own COP, actually. So, President Ruto and the rest of the team did well to conceive that. And I hope, it's truly impactful, lasting, and it will drive the desirable change. The African Renewable Energy Initiative, Climate Investment Funds, and the Green Climate Fund. There are green bonds everywhere that nations can access. The examples of global initiatives that has provided funding. And in fact, the world is trying to garner much funds, especially for Africa. This is personal opinion. I think somewhere along the line, strategy is to provide more aid for Africa so we can keep taking their resources. But I think African government leaders are going to fight back to keep against that. Implementing this is like summarizing the implementing mitigation measures requires, don't forget, whatever, even in your personal projects, multi-stakeholder approach is important, involving government, private sector, and that, in fact, you get funding when your solution is, when you are thinking at that level. You're not just thinking in your room or with your team. You're thinking, this is the problem we have noticed. This is what we're coming up with. We talked to one of my friends in 2020 under OpenIGO, one of OpenIGO's competition. He won $200,000 for his idea. It's an agri project. So one of the things we did, interview government, important stakeholders. So if you see the video, it's so rich. So we must, as much as possible, we need all stakeholders to sit together and drive and steer this change together. The African Development Bank launched the African Climate Technology and Finance Center to support African countries in implementing climate change mitigation measures in renewable energy, afforestation, reforestation programs, and energy efficiency measures. Planning and implementing mitigation measures. Largely, I can speak, for Nigeria, and I think some of them also from another African country. The implementation has been the problem, the roadblock. All the funds are released, but somehow it just disappeared into people's pockets, into, So there's a need for African countries to develop robust monitoring systems to track progress. We see our issues with data as well. Data is a big deal across Africa. In Nigeria, you are looking for data for everything. No data to substantiate, findings, research, and all that, and innovations. So we are literally just innovating by observing, and the world has gone beyond that. So there's need for capacity to kind of emphasize that data harmonization. I just said that use of technology such as remote sensing and geographic information systems. Like I said in 2021, my research with hundreds of farmers, only one of them listens to weather forecasts. So I mean, there are other technology that can, in advance, that can preempt and notify us, notify communities of hazards, say floods, drought, anything, so people can plan ahead and prepare to adapt, either to adapt or to disrupt. Communication and reporting on mitigation action, the use of social media and mobile technology. I think that is largely what has been helping. Everything we are doing now, we are tagging here and there. That's what has largely been helping. Short skits here and there, startups and entrepreneurs. I mean, I mentioned that last time. I really appreciate what entrepreneurs are doing that truly became changers. In Kenya, the the Green Network, a mobile phone-based platform, enables farmers to track their produce from the farm to the market. I mean, similar to one of the reasons I'm developing right now. So my Milking Innovation Fellowship in Israel, I mean, that's a project, and it's just one of the features of the project I'm working on. I hope, to be able to launch it maybe early next year, to really help a lot of our smallholder companies. Yeah, reducing post-harvest losses and emissions from transportation. Another example is use of storytelling. So you can check out Tree of Life Music Festival. It's an amazing in Turkey. Just check it out. It's an amazing. So if you want to, I think the next one is already open for registration. So Tree of Life is a festival that brings together people, people with sustainable drive, people in this space, the green space, who are passionate about it. They come together, they're dancing, they're singing, they're eating, and there are all sort of activities in the midst of nature, in the midst of their, I think I saw, what's this exercise called now? Yoga. I mean, all sorts, serenity of the environment, competitions here and there. I mean, so it's 100% designed to be, secular, sustainable. I mean, we need more of that. We need more of that. I'm sure most of us don't know there's anything like this. So, case study here, Copper Solar, and this is similar to the company I worked, for like, about 10 years ago or 8 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. And every company based in Kenya. I mean, Kenya has a lot of this type of package that provides clean and affordable energy to low-income households. Exactly what we did back then in Osun State. Massive installation, and it's still there actually. The company offers pay as you go. That was exactly what we also did for a business in Computer Village. That's like the biggest in Africa. Gadget repair center, the biggest in Africa. So a whole building installed solar for them, and the guys were just paying. They have their small stores. Some of them just a table, and they need power. They need to repair. They need to sew. They need to do all sorts. They need to charge. And it was also another very phenomenally successful project we did. So that pay as you go model is the way to do. Biogas program. I went for a training last year. Biogas is also, we generate a lot of waste. There's this Indian startup I saw recently. Massive biogas plants. I mean, we have a lot of markets in Nigeria. Food produce wasting. There's this para markets in Lagos. I mean, where goats and cows and all sorts of animals are sold. Massive animal don't just wasting, they're just there. So also, I mean, we have the resources. So it's project that aims to provide rural household biogas system for cooking and lighting. Module 4, case studies of successful climate change mitigation project in developing countries. So read up this Ouazzazate solar power station in Morocco as well. It's the largest in the world. It's different from the regular solar photovoltaic in the sense that it's like a mirror. It follows the direction of the sun. Your solar panel is just static. So this particular one, if the sun is moving, the sun rises from the east to the west, right? The east to the west, east to the west. It just follows it. I mean, it changes shape. Then I think I mentioned last time. Then there's water system integrated in it. And there's a massive tower that the light is reflected. I mean, amazing technology in Morocco. And it's already serving over 600,000 homes now. And Morocco is planning to expand it. I mean, of course, it's capital intensive. The plant has helped Morocco reduce Morocco's reliance on fossil fuels and has significantly reduced the country's carbon footprint. agroforestry in Kenya, the Kenyan Agricultural Carbon Project, and agroforestry program aimed at promoting. I mean, so there are all sorts of that. Like I said, in Nigeria, IIT, even across Africa, IIT is doing a lot. I told you, I gave you an example, and it's another project I would love to invest in as a give back to rural communities. IIT at the moment is planting over about 400,000 fruit trees, not just any fruit trees, cash crops and all that. So these communities will own it. I mean, they are literally poor. So they will own it in the next 2, 5, and 10 years. They will own it. And I mean, you can imagine all the forms of exploitation, industries that are cited there, maybe food juice companies or agro-produce processing factories, because they're going to have, I mean, 400,000, that's a lot. And I think they're even going to extend it. So, I mean, agroforestry is the way to go. Crop in between trees. The program provides farmers with technical support, training, and incentives to adopt agroforestry practice. This is a very much needed, strategy. Very, very much needed. Most of our farmers are not educated, unfortunately, and then that will be the end of the class. So yeah, you can pop your questions, your comments, your suggestions. Thank you so much, AC, for this opportunity to facilitate this section. I hope we'll do more of this in the future, and hopefully we'll be able to bring people together, bring people together across Africa. Like the one I went for in Kigali was the MacArthur Foundation, brought us all over from the world, Africans from the world. So I hope that God will give you that capacity, partners, we can bring, even if it's selected, Africans to a particular location. And then, we'll be able to meet and see. We can drive a lot of transformation together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shokwe. Thank you very much for that session. It was very, very, very educative. So quick, before we end the class, we would like to take our entertain questions. What you feel to understand or get during the course of the class. For me, I would say I would like to start by asking this question. So I am an intern at Hasey Health. I'm still in school. I'm still in my university. And you said something that university students do not even have an insight or do not even know what climate mitigation is all about, which is very correct. I mean, until I've been hearing about climate change and all, but I did not know that, okay, all these things that we do on a daily basis are what causes, climate change and what are, in one way or the other, affecting the climate. So I would like to ask what you feel can be done, to make people understand or to create awareness of climate mitigations among tertiary institutions, at least in the world, in the continent. Thank you.
Is that a question for me?
Yes, that's a question for you.
Okay, I mean, I'll just start with the program we had yesterday, University of Ibadan. We brought together stakeholders, student union leaders, Islamic leaders, Christian leaders, JCI leaders, and several other associations and partners, students, led, brought them together. Is an initiative that, it answers your question perfectly. And that's the essence of this. So first thing we are doing, let me share our own model. We've selected ambassadors from faculties, from social sciences to sciences to arts, and across selected ambassadors. About 5 of them each. So first we have the ambassadors. So what we're now doing is we have empowered and trained the ambassadors to keep doing that. So they will also be raising soldiers. So my friends were able to get Coca-Cola to sponsor this plastic collection bin and station at different faculties, and the result has been remarkable. So then also we're also leveraging for on campus. We're also leveraging campus radio stations. You'll be amazed at how many students are listening. Campus radio stations. Then we also want to start up, competitions. Get Coca-Cola to fund it. You'll be amazed. People have ideas, actually. A lot of young people, So that's another way we want to catch. So we want students-led, enterprises, eco project, like what you want to do with the participants here across campuses. then, by the time you do that, then we are creating a lot of incentives, a whole lot of incentives, such that people will begin to connect their waste to the resources. So we don't want to be the one chasing you very soon because there are incentives attached. Of course, incentive is not the ultimate, but it actually works too. It's one of the strategies. So you are conscious of the fact that, oh, if I do this, I get this. You score points. After some time, you can use the points to pay for your school fee. All sort of strategies what we are coming up with. So, but most importantly, I did my master's in Center for Sustainable Development in Rwanda. Trust me, most of the people in the Rwanda don't even have a clue that a center like that exists. They have no clue up to now. So there's need for awareness. Then of course, lecturers are all stakeholders. You can imagine lecturers interface with all thousands of students. So we also need to drag them into the system. Then finally, there's a need to, in our curriculum, I mentioned that there has to be climate change module rather, integrated. And if we are focusing on higher institutions, we also need to go back to high schools, to primary schools, because they will get into higher institutions in some years' time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 6, 7 years' time. They are coming there. So if we already instill, and that's why I've been doing a lot with high school students and with adolescents, so that by the time they are getting into higher institutions, they are living, it's not new to them. They just run with it when they see the opportunities. And there's so much more that we can do, so much more. So, that's just like something. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Shokwe, for that. I would like to entertain other questions from our fellows. If you have questions that you would like the facilitator to answer before the end of the class, you can please do that by raising up some emojis or dropping them in the chat room or the question and answer session. Please do that as we have a few minutes to the end of the class. Okay.
So let me.
Hello.
Hello, Richard. Success. You have
Yes.
30
Good morning.
seconds to take your question. Just in 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, I'll cut you off. So just straight to the point.
Thank you very much. All right. The session was great. So I want to know how we as ecopreneurs, student entrepreneurs in university can fall into partnership. We know before we can work on climate change, we need other partners to intervene as well. And so when you have somebody seeking to partner with you, what steps are you going to take before you can enter into those partnerships?
Okay, thank you very much. So let's, so Shokwe, would you want to take that question or then take the next question? And that will be all for this session.
Okay, let me answer this because interestingly, somebody mentioned Yawa Ali Naive. The question he asked is similar to what this participant just, and I was very typed to respond to that. Yeah, so I'll share from personal experience the best way to drive collaboration and partnership. First thing, what I typed here already. First off, you must have something tangible to bring to the table. First, this is my own approach. First time when you say something tangible. So the moment I came up with Garden in the Box Africa, I'd conceptualized and implemented several other projects going on. But that the moment I came on anyway, like I said on Monday, in Rwanda, Ghana, Cameroon, Senegal, Liberia, even in Nigeria, people are like, we want to be your partners in these countries. And I've not even launched officially. As we speak now, there's this German accelerator ongoing as I'm speaking here. I'm probably going to miss this section ongoing right now because of money. So I've been able to get the attention of political leaders, international organizations. IITA offered, I didn't even ask them. IITA said, the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture said, guy, we need to partner with you. We want to sign MOU with you. So from first quarter next year, so that all of their projects around what I'm doing, I'll be the one handling it and get the grants, split it, I run with it and achieve the results. So I've been, so the point is, you must have something tangible. You have to first be a force. So it's beyond just talking. So what I always like to say, build something tangible. It doesn't have to be as huge as in where I am now, but you must have something that they don't have. You must have, it's practically a solution. And that's why I like the other practical part of this program. Putting people in groups to design solutions is important. You must have something. And if we are now able to say, oh, we have done this to 1,000 young people in our university, we're able to achieve this. Trust me, you'll get the attentions of private organizations. I mean, right now, like I told you, we have Coca-Cola. This is my friends. Oh boy, Coca-Cola is literally begging them. There's another friend who started plastic recycling project. There's this Indian company begging him for months now. They want to give him, world-class machines so that whatever is processing, recycling, he will sell directly to them. He won't pay for those machines. So he's not going to pay. So now when they are doing anything around there, but I've been invited in advance. Yesterday, somebody came to the program and said, sir, please, I want to invite you. We are going to have recyclers. I don't deal directly in the recycling space, but because of what I do, saying the guy said, I want you to be there, sir. And we have all these multinationals there. So I've been invited ahead in advance. They've not even designed the banner and everything. So I've been invited because of what I have been doing. So you must start doing something. Start doing some measurable impact. Start doing something. So that's it. So if students can come together. So this German accelerator, participants or winners were selected across universities in Africa. Across universities. Young people. Most of the team, they are in Germany right now, Leipzig University. Most of them are there. I'm participating today and tomorrow virtually. So the idea is you must start something. When you start something, most of us, we are not leveraging our social media for transformation. We're just taking selfies, sharing what celebrities are sharing. Just frivolous, frivolity and all that. So maximize your platform, maximize it. So team up, look, we've talked about it. Assessment, do assessments. What are the problems? Sustainable problems. You can pick go 1 to 17. Pick go 1 to 17. Look at your environment, come together, look for like minds, and start practicalizing it. Start doing something as much as create a prototype, test it, go to communities, advocacy. So, and you need to start documenting it. People must be able to. If I should put my website here, I can bet that 100 out of 100 people will say, wow, this website, and I've not launched it officially. So I did that the moment I put the idea together. Created a platform for, and everybody. I told last year I was invited to facilitate at the World Circular Economy Forum, the Lagos studio. I had the opportunity of going to Kigali or Lagos studio. But I chose Lagos studio because my primary market is in Nigeria. This year, the World Circular Economy Forum Finland requested for a video of my startup, and it was played there. I watched it live. You can see the joy. So when they are doing anything, now I've been integrated into Essence African Circular Economy Network organizational member. So now I've even been drafted into a committee. So anything circular economy now, I'm a big player. So it was deliberate, but it all begins because started with doing something about solving a problem, like they usually say. It's safe. I don't want to overflog that. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, of course. There's nothing more to add. I want to say a very big thank you to our facilitator. So I've been getting a lot of feedback even right here in the office, and there's just so I think we can just keep jamming those hands, keep sharing those love emojis, and
Thank you.
each and every one of us can really attest that there is nothing better than this live sessions, because you get feedbacks on the spot, feedback on how people feel about issues. And you would agree with me, Shokwe, that there are a number of us that are still in school. We can use our networks, we can use the fact that we have people on ground. So one of the advantages of being in the student environment is that you can leverage your energies. There are a lot of opportunities these days that you can leverage, and I cannot just say all of them or but when you go to the internet, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of partnerships that you can have. So not just with people in your school, you can go across Africa, and that's what we are trying to do on Zero Carbon Africa Impact program. We want a situation whereby across the 6 countries, there can be something memorable that you've done, such that you can trace it back to your relationship here. We want to thank the facilitator. Of course, I would definitely be in touch. I don't know. I wish I can do this in less than 6 minutes. Say a few things about the project, because so rightly Shokwe mentioned that aside this masterclass, we want you to be seen to be doing something. And the essence of you being in a project group is not really because, so we know that a lot of you are from different places. I mean, take Kenya. When we had a meeting with your country reps and volunteers, a number of them cited that one of challenges that they have is that a lot of you stay in far-flung destinations, right? And so somebody that stays in Nairobi, how would he collaborate with someone that stays in Mombasa? Or in Nigeria, someone that stays in Lagos, interacting with someone that stays in Osun State, right? We have, there are different ways of going about this. We want you to be inventive, we want you to be innovative in your approach. One of the things that we also try to do with the project is that we are leaving it up to you. We want the project to be as concise as possible, something short term. Somebody had mentioned the impact. So right now, don't be too concerned with getting the results immediately. Impact is more of a long-term measurement, and it will take years. And in most cases, impact is not just as a result of your own action. It's as a result of different other things. I mean, take for instance, if you are going to do an education program, awareness program, believe you me, your 1 day or a week education empowerment, thing will not just be what will lead to the general behavioral change in that community. Is going to take some time. And if you focus on you want that immediate change, you're going to get frustrated. It's going to be a lot of things. It's going to be really expensive and all of that. But we want you to take on projects that at least in the next 5 weeks can be completed. So there are different ideas. You can do a tech approach in tech applications to climate change. You can do something in sustainable agriculture. You can be very creative if you want to be, believe me. And please ensure that your project is really, really cost friendly, cost effective. So one of the hallmarks of sustainability is not about how costly it is, but how affordable it is. And that's why we focus on low income people. We want ideas that can affect a large group of people that don't have access to a lot of dollars, right? So, and that's where our creativity comes from. I'd like to thank each and every one of us for being on the call. The project has started. For some of us, I started to receive our project proposals. Just make it as simple as possible. A project proposal, you should not be more than a page or maybe 1.5 page, so that it's easy for you to know what is happening, what you want, not something as much as 4 or 5 pages and a lot of things. Let's just be clear. If you want your project to be online, fine. If you want your project to be offline where you get to meet, is also fine. And with the project grouping, it's not a must that everybody do the same projects, right? A group might be very, very big, but within the project group, say maybe all of you in the group is about 90. Within that group, you can have 2 projects and team members can be split amongst the two projects, and you had, a very exciting experience and all of that. So I'll not say so much about that, but please, if you have confusions and inquiries about how you go about the project, please, I'm always available. Just send my or a WhatsApp chat, or if you like to interact via Telegram, please do. Apologies for some of us that have sent emails. We try as much as possible to reply the emails. We have hundreds of emails to attend to. So you can always try. The benefit of being on this program is that once you've gone through the Telegram group, we have more like a personal touch, to most things. So you can just send the admin on Telegram a personal message about your concern, about whatever it is, or even on WhatsApp, you can just share your concern, and we are here to help you. Concerning the project again, we have at least 28 groups across the 6 countries. Ghana has 4. Several other countries have 4. I think Nigeria has up to maybe 6 or 7. But make sure that you identify with a group, and we also encourage you to take active participation. Want a situation whereby at the end of this program, you can present on behalf of your.
All right. Okay, he's back.
Oh, okay. So I got caught up in my work. So we want to show whereby each and every one of us have a real experience, a concrete experience to lead organizations, to even carry on with our startups. Some of us are already thinking of innovative ways that we can tap into secularity, into the secular economy, into waste. There are tons of opportunities that we can take advantage of. We want to thank each and every one of you again for being in today's class and for participating in the class for this week. This week, we have been able to start and complete the course Climate Change Mitigation in Developing Countries. We thank you so much. We love you. We ask that you have a fruitful day ahead. Don't forget, Zero Carbon Africa Impact Program has not ended. We are in the 4th week. Next week is going to be 5th week. We are going to be talking about climate change, sustainability, and global health. How does climate change affect the health systems in Africa? What can we do as citizens of the African nation? We thank you so much for making it a day with us again today. If you have questions, our facilitators social media is active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, I think Facebook. Also, you can just go online and search for Shokwe Afolayan. His name is Shokwe Afolayan. Shokwe is S-O-P-E, then Afolayan, on all the social media. And he's a very free person. He's a very free person. I don't want to tell you the story of how we met, right? He's a very free person. So just go ahead, introduce yourself. He likes interacting with students. He likes interacting with like minds like him, serial entrepreneurs, and all of them. Bring your ideas. The fact that you are on this program gives you a foot in already. Just pitch your ideas and see how have access to a real mentor, to a real industry person. Thank you again for today.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We can see you all on Monday. See you all on Monday. Thank you, Shokwe, for that wonderful time again. That, yes. So, see you.
Have you been okay?
Pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
We are still on, so
Please, can you stop the recording, Shapai?
Recording in progress.